This is definitely an unpopular opinion, but quitting your job to start a business is usually not the right move. Most of the time, it's reckless. In my life, I've watched so many people romanticize entrepreneurship, drain their savings, and end up way more stressed than they ever were whenever they was receiving a paycheck. And let me be clear, this wasn't because they weren't intelligent, but because they've skipped the boring but stable phase that is needed in order to build a real business. And what makes this worse are the online influencers, because some of them bash the 9-to-5 and make you feel like a complete failure because you have a steady paycheck. And what that does is that creates pressure for the startup businesses to make that jump before they're ready. But let me tell you this, most successful businesses don't start from a dramatic leap. They start quietly in the margins of someone's life. And here's how. They start at night after work, on the weekends, and with one client, one sale, and one simple system at a time. But this is the quiet phase that a lot of entrepreneurs underestimate, because you're building skills, mistakes are often cheaper, and your confidence compounds faster than you think. And that's what we're talking about today. 5 small businesses that you can start without quitting your job, without gambling your rent money, and without pretending you're a full-time CEO on Instagram. Because the goal here is not to escape your job overnight. It's to build options while you still have your full-time job. Alright, let's get into business number 1, a low-cost online store. When you hear online store, you immediately picture warehouse costs, inventory shipping containers, and massive startup costs. So what this means is instead of focusing on selling to everyone, they focus on proving demand first. So instead of spending thousands of dollars on research, what you should do is pay attention to the real issues that are happening around the world. So what this means is start by noticing a product that people keep searching for or a problem that people keep complaining about. And after that, what people typically do is start by having their small store listing a few items and then seeing what sells the most. And platforms like Etsy or Shopify make this very easy for you to start. And the reason is because you don't need a lot of inventory up front to start. Typically, within those platforms, you use print on demand, made to order products, or low inventory models. I've seen people start with a few $100s while working at night, testing ideas, and seeing what sells before scaling to the next level. And one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is trying to look big before demand proves itself. But the smarter move is quietly letting your paycheck absorb the risk while your business is quietly proving itself in the background. But I will tell you, if you're thinking about starting a business and you want to know whether to choose Amazon FBA or Shopify for your first business, then I encourage you to check out the video above. Because in that video, I go over which business model works for you depending on what stage you are in your life and what goals that you have. Alright, now let's get into business number 2. Freelance services. Freelancing is one of the most important but less exciting business models, but that's exactly why it works. This isn't about chasing a random dream. It's about monetizing the skills that you already have. And that's exactly why I don't believe in sleeping on your 9-to-5 or full-time job. But the key difference is you're not building a personal brand at this stage. You're just solving for specific problems for people who pay for it to be solved. Most people start by taking on a small project after work, and then another, and the next thing you know, they have a repeat client. Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, or LinkedIn allows you to have control over how much work you do and when you do it. With my media company, Money Talks Media, I work with freelancers and contractors to help produce the content that I do today. Because even though I run a small business, there's absolutely no way that I can do everything at one time and still scale the right way. But another benefit to being a freelancer is you get the opportunity to build long-term partnerships and collaborations over time. But what also makes freelancing very powerful isn't just the income, but it teaches you how businesses actually work. A few skills that you gain is how to communicate with clients, how to set boundaries, how to price effectively, and how to consistently deliver value. And there's clearly no hype here. It's just proof of skill and payment for those results. Business number 3, digital courses or ebooks. Look, I understand digital courses do get a bad rep, and I completely understand why. But just know, if you do decide to start digital courses or an ebook, you don't need to be the best in the world, you don't need a massive audience, and you don't need to talk about anything revolutionary. What you need is only a few steps to be ahead of someone else. and here they are. If you've solved a problem, built a system, or learned something through real experience, that is very much valuable to someone that's just starting out. It's just like with anything that you're learning new, 0 to 90% feels fast because it's new information. But the more that you know about a subject, that 90 to 100% creeps up very slowly. So your target audience should be the people that don't know anything about your subject. But with digital products, they work because it separates your time from your income. Because what you do is you create the asset one time and it can be sold repeatedly from there. Platforms like Gumroad or Udemy makes this very easy and straightforward. And it's also low risk because you don't need a big launch or a big audience to start. But also let me make this clear, what matters is credibility and people can feel it. If you decide to teach something, it actually has to come from lived experience. Misleading people or pretending to be an expert can actually ruin your brand more than anything else. What you do is you pick one clear problem, one specific outcome, and one focused solution. You can easily build this after work, improve over time, and quietly let it build in the background. But real quick, if this video is giving you some ideas on what to start as your next business, that's a good sign because it's intentional. And yeah, I know these are boring businesses, but they can put money in your pocket at the end of the day. But it does cost you nothing to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so that you never miss a video. And by doing that, you're helping my small business get to the next level with your continued support. Business number 4, local service businesses. Not every business needs to live 100% online, and that's okay. Some of the most reliable side businesses are the ones that people need but are not willing to do themselves. And that's where you come in. Consider dog walking, lawn care, tutoring, cleaning, and handyman services. Now, I will say, you do need some type of digital presence like a website or content creation in order to stay relevant. But don't confuse this with being your main storefront. How people start is from family, friends, or a neighbor, and then word of mouth grows from there. There are tons of apps and platforms that can help you get started and find your initial clientele. It's just like if you consider doing handyman services, consider joining TaskRabbit. And even though platforms like that do take a fee from every order, you can still build your clientele by booking your appointments and building those long-term relationships. And also, you don't have to spend a lot of money on advertising because everything is there within the platform. This business idea may also not be as flashy, but it does help build the business fundamentals more than anything else. And that comes from you wearing multiple hats and doing everything where you're forced to learn it anyway. Alright, now let's wrap this up with business number 5, affiliate marketing and creator-based income. I may be a little bit biased, obviously, but this one is my favorite. But while it is my favorite, it does require a lot of patience, which honestly, I still struggle with. Affiliate and creator-based income only starts when you stop chasing virality and start building trust. Because when you start, at first, nothing happens. A few people start listening, your audience starts to build, and then that trust converts into commissions. And as you know, platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram reward consistency and value over perfection. But as we wrap up this video, the goal here is not to start all 5 businesses. There's no way that's sustainable. The goal is to pick one that matches your energy level, your schedule, and the season of life that you're in right now. And when or if you decide to leave your job, you don't need a dramatic exit story. You just need a quiet built one in the background. Because when your side business starts to cover real expenses, your mindset changes naturally. And what also changes is your confidence and also your leverage for more opportunities. And that's the moment when entrepreneurship stops becoming a fantasy and starts becoming an option. And now you know how real businesses are built without quitting your full-time job. But as always, thanks for supporting my small business. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.